My retirement runway acknowledges and understands that just like getting on an airplane, eventually you're going to take off, hopefully level off at 30,000 feet, and eventually land somewhere safely, someplace that you intended to land when you started. See, that's really what my retirement runway is really all about. But what you need to understand is even though you're on the same plane, you're the same passenger, the captain, the co-pilot, and all of the flight attendants do something different in each of those three phases. You need to be doing the same with your money. We're going to talk about that today on Consider This Program. Well, good morning and welcome back to Consider This Program. I am your host, Joe Clark.
And I am Daren Hardesty.
And we are very, very honored to have you along. Hey, we are going to talk about the title of my new book. It's called Retirement Runway. It'll be out later in 2021. You'll be able to find it there. In the meantime, you can go to myretirementrunway.com. That's not up yet, so don't send me an email saying it's not there. But the landing page will be up shortly. You'll be able to register. And we're going to collect people's information and names the first week that it rolls out. There will certainly be discounted prices and a bonus chapter that actually comes along with it. So in the meantime, until that's up, you can go to FEG comment or talk to FEG.com or FEG at yourlifeafterwork.com or FEG commentary at yourlifeafterwork.com. Either one of them. I just say, hey, I heard Joe talk about about Retirement Runway. I want to get registered for a copy. Tell us if whether you want a hardback, paperback, or a Kindle version. We'll work on getting that done as we go. Again, it's called Retirement Runway, and I'm excited to have it out. But it is about this conversation. It really is about what we call the three phases of finance. So, Daren, walk me through the first phase. Let's start there.
The first phase is the accumulation phase.
Okay.
And so this is where I'm currently at. People in general, it's when you are starting out working or in the first, let's say, 10 to 15 years, maybe more of your career, where saving consistently and having a fixed percentage that you're saving of your income is very important. And then also making sure that you start to diversify the types of accounts that you're saving to. We call it tax diversification.
So I'm just going to reiterate it because this is important. When this happened once upon a time, they called me Big Joe for a reason. I'm not a small guy now, right? But I was a whole lot bigger at one point in time. And I was in Minnesota, and I was getting on an airplane, and the lady blushed and looked at me, and she goes, "Sir, I have to have your weight." And if you don't fly a lot, I was almost called a puddle jumper. We call them regional jets today. I guess it's a little more politically correct. But that was me and like 12 other people that were in the UFF at one of the wrestling leagues at the time. And I was normal size, right? So you're dealing with 400 plus pounds on me. And these other guys that were high 350s to 450s, one guy I'm not even going to talk about, right? And he had an aisle, not two seats. And they're weighing us to make sure that they knew where it was, because when you're loading that plane, it is critical that you have proper distribution of luggage, proper distribution of passengers, so that you don't get thrown out of whack. Mm-hmm. What Daren just told, when we're doing accumulation, your two things, when you're loading your retirement, when you're loading that plane in accumulation, is saving the right percentage of your income, and it's building tax diversification while you're still given the opportunity to do it. Right? Yes. So that's what you're doing when you're loading the plane. Critical to understand that. Then you move into what phase, Daren?
It's called the preservation phase. And preservation is exactly how it sounds. You're trying to preserve your wealth. And there's the things that we really want to focus on there. First is when average return is really the only time the average return really matters, is what I meant to say. So you want to make sure that you're consistently still saving, but that amount that you're saving is no longer as important as the average return that you're getting out of those accounts every year.
Compound interest is a beautiful thing. Yes. Einstein allegedly said on his deathbed, wasn't there, allegedly said, "I'm not sure I can name the 7 wonders of the world, but the 8th is surely compound interest."
Yes.
So the longer you have money in an account, the more amazing it is that in terms of what it is able to grow to. When you get to that preservation stage, it doesn't mean that you're not continuing to save. In fact, I would encourage you to do so. But it means that taking care of what you've already accumulated, what you've already saved, is more important than what you're adding this year. And as Daren said, this is the only time that average return matters. But, you have to be willing to stick to the flight plan. Mm-hmm. And that means there may very well be some turbulence. So when we talk about the fiduciary focus at the Financial Enhancement Group, when I sit down with you as a fiduciary, and if you're going to do it on your own, that's your business. If you're looking for one, that's our business. but as professional fiduciaries, treating your money as if it were our money and we were in the same situation, we're always going to pay attention to risk and volatility, fees and expenses, taxes today and tomorrow, and real return. I equate turbulence, the ups and downs, right, along with volatility. Now, the difference is when you're on an airplane and it becomes turbulent, the pilot will adjust. As professional money managers, we manage a little bit more than $600 million for more than 1,100 families across the country, right? We make adjustments as professionals based on what's happening in the economy. But that isn't going all to cash. That isn't putting it all in the market. And any more than the pilot's going to 40,000 feet or going down to 5,000 feet just because there's turbulence. We're going to make minor adjustments as professionals. If you're going to do this on your own, the only way that average return matters in preservation is to be able to withstand turbulence, i.e. volatility, and to understand when adjustments truly are in order. Now, Daren, let's take it to where I have spent my life focusing on. What's the third and final stage?
Yes, it's the distribution phase. And this is when you've saved your whole life, you've worked hard, you've done all the heavy lifting, and now it's time to actually start taking money out of the account, which can be a very difficult thing for many people. But in distribution, what we're really focusing on is managing the volatility between distributions. We don't want to always just say, hey, let's take out money when the market's down, or let's only take out money when the market's up. We want to make sure that we're paying attention to that volatility and making adjustments as needed from the sources that we have. And then we also want to make sure that we're paying attention to the average amount that each dollar is being taxed. So we always talk with our families, in the marginal tax rates, going from 12% at a certain adjusted gross income or taxable income up to 22% and soon to be higher, at least if if no other major changes take place. That's a huge jump. And if we can manage that distribution at the preferential tax rate, then we want to do that.
Absolutely. So we're getting ready to land the plane, right? So you got on a plane and you trusted the process that the pilot, the co-pilot, the plane, the bird, as we like to call them, and the flight attendant, the crew were going to get you to where it is you wanted to go. And they were going to get you on. They were going to take off, level off the plane, bring you more coffee, and eventually you were going to land the plane. And here's the hard part, I think, for people to get that I've witnessed over the last 33 years, and that's that it is very, very difficult when you have spent 40 years of your life on the plane. Right? 40 years of your life accumulating money and building that nest egg, right? And now you're getting ready to land the plane. And by golly, when you're on an airplane, I don't care if you're going to Paris or Hawaii or if you're going to Chicago, you're ready to get off the plane. There's not a lot of us that really, really enjoy it, that have to fly a lot. Let us get off the plane, do what it is we're doing. It's there as a method or a mechanism to get us to an end result. When you started an accumulation, Daren, when you guys sit down and you and Morgan are working on your plan and your strategy, you're working on landing the plane. You're saving money today so that you have a better landing, a better retirement in your future, if you will.
Yes.
And the problem is that plane arrives. When it's time to start distributing the assets, people become reluctant. Mm-hmm. And they become reluctant for three reasons. The first one is, in all fairness, they don't want to hurt their baby. And as their kids grew up and they became empty nesters, what happened was the statement that you got from your 401k or your IRAs or the combination of them, it kind of took on a life of its own, right? And now when you go to withdraw or distribute, you're hurting your baby, and it's just not natural. Secondly, there are people that simply don't need the money. Right? You've worked hard to build margin in your lives. You've saved and accumulated. You've said no to things. And quite frankly, being frivolous just doesn't go into your idea of a good time, right? Mm-hmm. And so you really don't need the money. And then last but not least, sadly, there are some people who have a fear of running out of money. We try to curtail and deal with all three of those issues in our office, but primarily the first two. Giving you the financial freedom and understanding of how to use your money. And second, the realization that if you don't land a plane on your own, the IRS is going to take the throttle and they're going to land it in their best interest, not in yours. We will exit. We will land a plane. Our job is getting you there to a safe arrival zone. And that safe arrival means you have the purchasing power to be able to protect the retirement that you once dreamed about. See, here's what I believe, Daren. I believe that everybody deserves the retirement that they earned. Now, I'll say that again. I believe everybody deserves the retirement that they earned. So how do you earn a retirement? Well, you either worked at a place where you could have made more money in many cases, but you chose to make less because the company agreed to provide a pension, right? There are some top-notch scientists in the world that work at places like Eli Lilly and mechanical engineers at Caterpillar that agreed to be there to get a pension, right? A lot of places don't have that option and that opportunity anymore. Mm-hmm. And some of those people could have made a lot more money, but they wouldn't have necessarily had, that quote unquote guarantee, of the pension if they would. We make decisions as we're starting out. The retirement that you earned is about having discipline today when you guys are young, right? You're studying for your CFP. You're working your tail off. You thought that coaching baseball and teaching was hard, and then you met me, right? This is not an easy.
A lot more vacation when I was teaching.
There was a lot more vacation when you're teaching. Daren gives me emails at 12:38 at night, just like I've done for years. It's just part of the deal. You take care of families, and that's what we're all about at the Financial Enhancement Group. But it is just part of it. But understanding that people get the retirement that deserve the retirement that they earned. They made the hard decisions. They said no to things that they could have done. They did the heavy lifting. And then it's our turn to come in and help them get that. But what you deserved, if you didn't save, folks, retirement is going to be tough, right? If you're going to try to live on Social Security, retirement is going to be tougher than it is for people who actually did the hard work along the way. Now, it's never too late. There are things that you need to do to get under control, but understand we want to land that plane safely. So we're always going to talk about the fiduciary focus. Real quick, Daren, what are the 4 parts of the fiduciary focus?
Starts with risk and volatility.
Risk and volatility, which I equate in the book to turbulence. It's the volatility, the up and going down of the market. Next.
Fees and expenses.
I call that the fuel. Fees and expenses are always there. Fuel cost money. You're going to burn it. What you want is the best fuel economy that you can, whether it's your car or your jet engine. It doesn't mean you're going to have no energy, right? Even electric has energy.
Absolutely.
Third.
Taxes today and tomorrow.
That's like buying a plane ticket. If you don't know that prices vary, you don't fly often. It varies by carrier. It varies by the time. It varies by the airport. It varies by just about everything. Do not think that taxes are consistent. Do not buy into that. They are anything but. It is a very, very moving target, and you need to understand what drives it. And last but not least,
real return.
Real return, which means we're getting something on our return plus whatever the inflation rate is. When I talk about a safe arrival, your plane landing as it needs to land, that means pure and simply that the dollar that you saved is able to provide the purchasing power with inflation that you needed it to be able to support your standard of living. Give us a call at 800-928-4001 and go to yourlifeafterwork.com, myretirementrunway.com.